Single Dad got a wrong call at 2 a.m. He showed up anyway, and the heiress asked him to stay forever. The phone shattered the silence at exactly 2:03 a.m., its shrill ring cutting through the small, dark bedroom like a blade. Daniel Carter jolted upright, heart pounding, his first instinct not fear for himself, but for his 7-year-old daughter sleeping in the next room. He grabbed the phone with trembling hands, expecting bad news from the hospital about his father or a late-night emergency from the auto shop where he worked double shifts. Instead, a woman's voice, breathless, panicked, fragile, whispered that she needed help. She gave him an address across town and said she had no one else to call. Then the line went dead. Daniel stared at the screen. Unknown number, wrong call most likely, but something in her voice didn't sound wrong. It sounded desperate. Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of showing up for someone when it matters most, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Brightly Kindness. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts. Daniel sat on the edge of his bed, wrestling with logic. He was a single father. Every decision he made revolved around safety and stability for his daughter, Mia. Since his wife passed away 3 years ago, life had become a careful balance of early mornings, late shifts, homework at the kitchen table, and quiet nights where grief still lingered like a shadow. He couldn't afford risks. He couldn't afford distractions. Yet he couldn't shake the tremor in that woman's voice. It wasn't the voice of someone making a prank call. It was the voice of someone standing at the edge of something unbearable. He walked to Mia's room and watched her sleep, her tiny hand curled around her stuffed rabbit. The world felt cruel sometimes, but moments like this reminded him what he was fighting for. He called his elderly neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, who had helped in emergencies before. She answered groggily, but when Daniel explained he needed to step out briefly and asked if she could listen for Mia through the baby monitor, she agreed without hesitation. Within minutes, he was pulling on his worn leather jacket and stepping into the cold night air. The address led him to the wealthiest part of the city, a neighborhood he had only ever driven through on his way to repair luxury cars. The house was enormous, lights blazing in the rain-soaked darkness like a lighthouse. Daniel hesitated at the gate, suddenly aware of how out of place he was in his scuffed boots and grease-stained jeans. He pressed the intercom anyway. No answer. The gate was slightly ajar. He stepped inside. The front door opened before he could knock. A woman stood there, wrapped in a deep red dress that looked elegant yet disheveled, as if the night had unraveled around her. Her eyes were wide, rimmed with unshed tears, and when she saw him, something like disbelief crossed her face. She had expected someone else, perhaps someone richer, more powerful, more important. Instead, there was Daniel, tired, cautious, unsure. For a moment, they simply stared at each other, two strangers from different worlds connected by a mistake. Her name was Evelyn Laurent, heiress to one of the largest real estate empires in the region. Daniel recognized the name vaguely from news headlines about corporate mergers and gala events. But the woman before him did not look like a headline. She looked broken. The call had been intended for her attorney. In her panic, she had misdialed one digit. She had been alone in the house after a boardroom betrayal that evening, trusted executives attempting to push her out of her own company after her father's recent passing. The weight of grief and deception had crushed her. She hadn't wanted legal advice at 2 a.m. She had wanted reassurance that she wasn't alone in the world. Daniel should have left. He had every reason to. Instead, he stepped inside and asked if she was safe. It was a simple question, but no one had asked her that all night. She nodded, then shook her head, unable to decide. He listened as she explained the corporate ambush, the whispered rumors about her inexperience, the way men twice her age had dismissed her authority. The mansion, despite its marble floors and towering ceilings, felt suffocatingly empty. Daniel didn't offer business strategies or legal solutions. He offered something far simpler. He told her about losing his wife and learning how to braid his daughter's hair by watching online videos. He spoke about rebuilding engines piece by piece, how sometimes the only way to fix something overwhelming was to focus on the smallest bolt first. His words were unpolished, honest, grounded in reality rather than wealth. And for the first time that night, Evelyn laughed softly through her tears. Hours passed unnoticed. The storm outside softened to a drizzle. When Daniel checked his watch, it was nearly dawn. He stood to leave, explaining that he had work in a few hours and a daughter waiting at home. Evelyn walked him to the door, the vulnerability in her expression replaced with something steadier. Before he stepped out, she asked him why he had come. He answered truthfully, because he would hope someone would come if Mia ever made a desperate